Am I the a-hole for telling my wife she needs to find another job? Me 26 male and my wife 24 female have been married for 4 years. During those 4 years, she had the same job which requires her to be away Friday to Sunday, so she leaves early on Friday and returns about 4 to 5 p.m. on Sunday. Occasionally, it would be leaving on Saturday and returning Sunday. She also has to work some of the school/public holidays. I work full-time and get just a bit above minimum wage and tips, so our bills are split 60 her to 40 me. While I find myself struggling with money and having to borrow from the joint bank account, my wife never have this problem. I know she is getting paid more than I do as she works for a high-profile client, but I'm not sure by how much more. She also wouldn't tell me what exactly she is doing. All I know is that it is connected to her degree and it is 100% not erotic work or nothing in that industry. The reason why she won't tell me is because she signed a contract, and it is highly confidential, so she is not allowed to go into details. She does chores around the house but doesn't cook. She admits herself she is a bad cook and hates it. Instead, she would order either those pre-made healthy meals she then heat up for herself or take away. When I'm home and she hasn't ordered, she will order for me too. So most of the day while I'm working, she's either in our house chilling, watching TV, playing video games, reading or exercising, or shopping or in the gym. Over the years, I got annoyed with this and have asked her to find another job so she has something to do while I'm working instead of wasting her day. She told me she is not wasting her day, but relaxing, and her job pays her enough so she can afford the lifestyle she wants. I said it is not fair on me, as I come home tired while she has done nothing all day. To which she said I can find another job or a different job, but I am an a-hole for wanting her to find another job because I feel tired when coming back from work, when she has already got a job she loves. After this, she won't talk to me. I have spoken to my family, and while my parents agree with me that she needs to work, my sisters took my wife's side and called me a massive a-hole. Edit, I'm not saying she needs to quit the job she has. I'm saying she needs to find another job to do during her free time. Could be a part-time one, since she doesn't really do much during the day. Now for the top comments. You're the a-hole. You have no right to make your wife leave her clearly very good job just because you feel it's unfair to you. She gets paid well and gets to relax, but you'd rather she suffer working the same way you suffer than you having financial security. If it bothers you this much, how about you start looking for another job that pays more and demands less? Edit. OP, your edit that she needs to find a second job doesn't make this any better. In fact, it makes it worse. You're the a-hole. The only person who needs another job is you, so you can actually pay your half of the bills. So you want her to work 2 jobs and be tired because you work one and you're tired? How is that even remotely fair? You're the a-hole. Opie would have hated me. I saved up a bunch of money and lived off of it because I could. I only did my fair share of the housework because I paid my share of the bills. Why would I do more just because I have more free time? I paid for that time, and Opie is an entitled jerk. YTA. Your reason for wanting her to do is just because you feel jealous and emasculated. I am suffering, therefore she must suffer too, so I don't feel as bad. This is exactly how it reads. Opie is jealous she has days each week to live her life. He wants to force her into long, hard minimum wage labor just like he does. Girl has found peace and balance. Opie should be striving to be like her. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for urging my husband to go to work despite him having an upset stomach? My husband is your typical man flu guy who wants to be babied if he gets a small sniffle. Love him to death and he is truly a fantastic person all the way around. But it's like a war zone in my house whenever he feels even remotely ill. Like even a small headache he starts going off. Last night he ate a bunch of ice cream. He is lactose sensitive. And due to this he is feeling it today. He has an upset stomach and immediately started whining the second he woke up. His whining is like him groaning really loud. Almost like he wants that to be the only thing you can hear. Heavily sighing kind of sounds like a toddler who is mad for not getting their way. So he was doing that and almost immediately following starts asking me to cater to him. Fetch him ice water, run a cool shower, get him a towel, help him get motivated, etc. I don't have the time, energy, or patience for this today, especially knowing he cost it. We have 3 children who I need to tend to, a farm to run, multiple dogs to feed, and I work from home today and it's already 107 degrees and it's only 8 a.m. I don't have it in me to cater to him on top of it all. So he starts talking about taking the day off from work, and I told him he should go in and feel it out and see how he feels throughout the day. I said this after he told me he felt a bit better after a cold shower. I convinced him that maybe he wasn't drinking enough water. Anyways, by the end of it and lots of convincing later, he leaves for work. For all wondering? Yes, it's just because of the lactose sensitivity. We made sure, as we have rapid tests on hand. So he leaves, but calls me about 20 minutes ago and was like, "You just didn't want to deal with me at the house. That's it, right?" So I was honest and told him I had far too much to do today. So catering to him like he would fully expect had he stayed home would put far too much on my shoulders. And I wasn't willing to run myself on empty today. This is my only somewhat down day in comparison to other days, because I volunteer at the soup kitchen, run a charity program with the church, and I also lend a farmhand to other neighbors. So today was the only day I didn't have to do those extras and could focus on my work, farm, and kids. He says I'm an a-hole because I'm choosing to make him feel terrible and make him go to work, just because I didn't want to deal with it. I reminded him it was his fault he felt like that anyhow, and I'm not his mother. So if he wanted to stay home, he could tend to himself because I wasn't doing it today. He hung up but stayed at work. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. It was entirely self-inflicted, like a hangover after drinking too much. Had he stayed home, I'd have recommended just getting on with your day as normal, as if he wasn't even there. Maybe it would have been good to see what you normally do every day, since it sounds like he may not respect it if he wants to be child number 4 when he's a little ill. This. If you get struck down with an actual illness like the flu, I get asking for help. I've had relatives drop off medicine or whatever. But if you caused your own problem, no one else should be obligated to do anything about it. Honestly, I've never needed my husband to take care of me when I was actually sick, like making good friends with a toilet sick or migraine sick. The most I've asked is for him to take over childcare, and if he wasn't busy, get an ice pack or some medicine. Both things I would do entirely on my own, even when it feels like someone's put an ice pick through my eye and keeps hammering it. Not the a-hole. First off, I hate the man cold trope. I'm not arguing if it exists. Clearly you've shown it does here. It just drives me nuts, because I'm the type who is stubborn and refuses to be taken care of, even when I can barely walk due to being sick. Yet I've still gotten comments about having a man cold and whining unnecessary. Secondly, he brought it entirely on himself. He wants to be treated like an adult? He should act like one. That means making better decisions. If you struggled with lactose, don't eat a ton of ice cream. Problem solved. And having accountability for your own actions. He needs to grow up big time. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not wanting my husband's other child in my house? My husband cheated on me while I was pregnant and had a baby with another woman. I found out after the other child was born. I've never been okay with this. It's exactly the kind of trash I tried so hard to have not be part of my life. If it was possible, I would have divorced him by now. But I'm stuck at a legal dead end and it's not possible. We have a legal and emotional separation agreement though. Since he travels a lot in between the baby, my parents, and my career, I've been able to avoid thinking too much about it. Well, so I thought. It's been almost 2 years since then, and now he wants to bring that child into my house. I guess he has some kind of schedule with the other child's mother that includes visits, and he wants that visitation to be in what is technically still his residence. Absolutely not. I'm not a stepmother to any child, and unlike in most of these situations, the house we're living in is truly only mine. It's under my parents' names, but I got it when I got power of attorney and they had to go into a care home. I'm not having his kid in it. My husband and our family say that I need to deal with it, because I am still married, that I need to accept my stepchild, and that I'm a witch for excluding a baby and preventing siblings from having a relationship. I don't agree. This child may technically be siblings to mine, but I don't need to play mom to this kid to make a relationship happen. And I don't want any of this trash coming into mine or my child's safe space. Am I crazy for not wanting this child here? Edit. Why can't you get divorced? Why is he still living there? In my state, to file for divorce, both parties need to have been separated for over a year and living in separate residences, which requires one of us to move out. He doesn't want a divorce, so of course he won't move out. I can't make him because we're still married. In theory, I could move out and start the clock, but realistically, I can't. With a POA, I can't just abandon the house. I couldn't afford to anyway, but if I did, he would be able to remain there. I would eventually get a house back, but in the meantime, he could easily destroy it and then I'd have legal problems from that. To clarify on the separation agreement, Those don't technically exist in my state, but since we have it notarized, we could use it as an interim agreement on custody and a split on finances once the clock starts, and especially post-filing. Edit 2. Adultery/at fault. I can file based on adultery. I don't really want to go that route because it would turn the entire situation very hostile very quickly. And I would still have to have him living here until we could get a court date, which could easily be months and months in the future anyway. I realize it already seems as hostile as possible right now, but day-to-day things are civil in a way that it wouldn't be if I did that. I'm also not confident that it wouldn't look bad because I would have waited 2 years after knowing about it to do anything. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. This may not be a popular opinion since most on here say you have to be a perfect step-parent and accept all situations. But you are not at all the a-hole. I was in a similar situation and still angry 30 years later. Don't let people tell you what to do or how you feel. It is your house. Tell the father to go someplace else. Also, typically the partner is aware of the spouse having a kid prior to moving/getting married. A step-parent that tells their partner they don't want anything to do with the kid in question is different as they knew before, so now they have to live with it as it was always part of the deal. This situation is different. She doesn't even want to be in a relationship with a father. It's exactly like all the other stories that we saw recently where the OP is divorced, and the ex want the OP to take care of the step/half-siblings for a weekend or something. And each time the OP is not a-hole. The only difference is that she is stuck living with the other parent. And the other parent is using legal loopholes to stay there and stay married, twisting OP's hand as it is. Get a lawyer. A good one. He will bring this other child. You need a lawyer to evict him. A lot of people who share a residence go through divorce. It shouldn't be this hard without another way out. Get a lawyer and file for divorce and evict him. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for teaching my children Spanish without asking my husband to be permission? I've been seeing Mike, 40, for 3 years now, and we are planning on getting married soon and have moved in together a few weeks ago. Mike has 2 children with his first wife who apparently left them when the kids were little. His children are Katie, female 12, and Sab, male 11. Katie and Sab's mom was from Nicaragua who moved to the US where she met Mike. I don't know why, but the children were never taught Spanish, only English. I met Mike in the UK where I live, although I am originally from Spain. In school, they learned bits of French, but no Spanish. Here's the thing. Katie came over to me and asked me if I could teach them some Spanish, and I said absolutely. And we asked if Sab wanted to join us and he was up for it. I was excited. It means that the kids could learn their mother's language, possibly try and get in touch with their maternal side of the family when they're older. They don't have contact with them now, and Mike said they all live in Nicaragua, and they could potentially form a stronger bond with my parents. Their future step-grandparents as my parents speak poor English. We typically have a clear understanding of who handles what with kids. We've had plenty of discussions of what my role is and what he doesn't want me to do, etc. But frankly, I didn't think something as simple as teaching them language needed a discussion. It was just a fun activity we did. Simple things like pointing at things and telling them words or asking them. Teaching them sentences. We've only been doing it a short while, so it's basic stuff. I thought I'd mentioned it to Mike, but either I forgot or he hadn't listened, but he swears he didn't know. One day he heard me correcting Katie's conjugation and he got really angry. He asked me what I was doing. Before I had a chance of saying anything, very excited Katie chimed in saying that she's learning Spanish and asking if he wants to learn it with her. Mike said no and sent her to her room. He argued with me that I had no right to teach them Spanish and I should have consulted him first. I told him I didn't think it would be much of a problem as the chance of them having it in school was 50-50 anyway, and they asked me to help them. He told me I overstepped the boundaries. He explicitly forbade me from speaking to kids in Spanish. I tried to understand why it was such a problem and ask him, but he told me to stop asking, said a topic was finished and tried to leave. I asked what he was hiding and he called me a witch, an a-hole, and some other names. This was the first time he ever insulted me in any way, shape, or form. He apologized later that day and said he didn't appreciate me teaching them things like that and asked me to please drop the subject. I talked with my friends, and some say I wasn't the a-hole, but some say that I should have asked him first and not teach kids anything without his permission. And I'm confused. Am I the a-hole for teaching them Spanish? Not the a-hole. There are 2 large problems here that I see and I think you heavily need to consider before marrying this man. 1. He is extremely controlling over things which do not matter and overreacts. If this was an actual thing that really affecting his children, I'd understand. But you are not. Even if he apologized later, his initial response should be a huge, giant, neon red flag. 2. He has forbidden you from speaking Spanish, which is a very blatant attempt to erase your language and culture from the household. You will never be able to be your own person around him, only the person he wants you to be. It's worrying for the kids. It absolutely is. But Opie is not married to him, so the truth of the matter is that they are not her children. There is nothing she can do but get herself out, unfortunately. Not the a-hole. The kids ask you, and there was no reason you would have had any reason to suspect that it would be a problem. It's a totally normal thing to do, and teaching a language is a great way to connect and bond with the kids, especially if they want you to. Based on the info you gave about your fiancé's history, I suspect the Spanish language is a sore spot for him because of his ex. But there's no way you could have known that, and his reaction was awful. Not the a-hole. I agree with your comment. However, he's gonna suck it up because he married a person from Spain. And what if they have kids? She can't teach them Spanish either? I feel like his reaction was very over the top.